Welcome back to TLC, the Life Coach. In our last episode, we try to, consider what laws are, the different kinds of laws, and how to recognize a law. We started with that. We mentioned that God is God of law, laws are inherent in creation, laws are spiritual, laws are not traditions, laws are given to protect life, and laws are permanent. And we began the four kinds of laws. We talked about the ritual laws, which are temporal to govern traditions and certain religious worship. And then we talked about legislative laws, which are laws that are promulgated in a nation to govern the nation. They become civil laws. And we went ahead to say that you do not have only legal responsibility to obey just laws. Conversely, you have a moral responsibility to disobey an unjust law. If there's law that says we no longer have freedom of worship, we can resist that. If there are laws, if any leader comes into this nation and tries to perpetuate and try to repeal or try to abrogate or try to amend the law that have been passed against gay and relationship in this nation, then we have right to resist that. And there have been nations like I know in the United States where some people have been sued for refusing to bake gay cakes. That is, two men came and said, bake cake to reflect our union. We want to get married. And they said, no, I don't do that. And they took them together, and the case landed in the Supreme Court. And they'll be able to say, well, if a religious belief doesn't permit that, he also has a right to say, I can't do that. You go somewhere else, So a lot of things are happening in the world today that you have moral responsibility. If a person comes to legislate in this nation some evil things, he's going to meet with a lot of resistance because we will not let it work. All right? And then the third thing we didn't get to that last episode is natural laws. Principles of life are called natural laws. What's natural law? They are principles of life. Natural law is a theory in ethics and philosophy that says that human beings possess intrinsic values that govern our reasoning and behavior. Natural law maintains that these rules of right and wrong are inherent in people and are not created by society or court judges. We know that good and evil dwells in humanity. And because these natural laws subsist, we know that we try to make laws in respect of those values. That is why when you find two women coming together to want to engage in a sexual act, they are violating the law, or a man and another man. If a channel was made to dispense waste, it cannot be made to take in seeds. And so that's the reason why whenever anything, I know in the future we're going to be talking of some laws where we'll be talking about laws of absolutes. Anything called absolute, society runs on absolutes, not on alternatives. And whenever you introduce an alternative to check up on that, to take care of, to exterminate absolutes, then you are bringing confusion into that nation, and you're going to have a lawless land. So we have natural laws. Then we have spiritual laws, laws that govern our relationship with God. At this junction, we need to state our often neglected fact, that is, the converse of a law is also a law. The converse of a law is also a law. Therefore, all that God has uploaded into creation will produce the opposite of what was intended when the laws governing them are not known or violated. Unfortunately, many of us are serial violators of these divine protocols. Let me try to explain what I'm talking about. For instance, look at the coca leaf. Look at opium. You see the way people are using it on the street, and it's ruining their life, bringing out cocaine, opium, and all that. They are derived from vegetables, that God has given to us. But one of the things I need you to understand is this. In Latin America, where most of these leaves are grown, many of them don't know, they don't even know the importance in the sense of bringing big medicine out of it. But they understand that if they make these leaves and then they make some tea and they drink, it has some health benefits for them. And then some of them will tell you that when you eat this vegetable or you take this, it keeps you from overeating. It can keep your weight down. It satisfies you when you are tired and you're on a long journey. It energizes you. About a couple of years ago, about 10 or 11 years ago, I was in Israel. I wanted to ascend to Mount Sinai, and you begin to climb midnight, about 11 or 12, to arrive there in 4 hours to get to the zenith. And something happened, and when some people, we saw some of these, some of these shepherds and all that who they help you with their camels and all that. They can help you to a particular point if you're tired, and you climb, and then they can ascend. And then they sell some tea, very little tea, a little cup of tea. When you take it, it energizes you, it stimulates you, it fires you on, and you continue to go. So the people who have these leaves understood that certain things provide some health benefit. But ultimately, we now know that everyone who had gone through surgery had a measure of cocaine or a measure of opium introduced into those things to be able to produce the anesthesia, the sedative and all that they give to them. So we see that all of these things are inherent in nature, a lot of benefits packaged into nature. If we don't know what they are, then we begin to misuse them. And like the late Mike Morone said, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. And so when you don't know these laws and you violate them, and some of us are serious violators, when you violate them, we don't get the benefits that are hidden in the laws that God has given to us. Please remember this, that the converse of a law is also a law. In other words, let's say, whatever goes up must come down. Whatever does not go up, we do not need to come down. And there are many other scriptures like that. He's able to do more exceeding abundantly, more than what we think or ask, in accordance with the power that is working in us. But he's unable to do more exceeding abundantly, more than what you think or ask, if there's no power working in you. He says, if a man's way pleases the Lord, he makes his enemies become his friends. What happens? If a man's way does not please the Lord, his friends will become his enemies. It's the simple thing. And then so there's spiritual law that are both good and they are bad. There's spiritual laws. For instance, if you reject God's law on environment and not take care of the land, that land will suffer. God told the children of Israel, you need to respect the land, and when you are tilling the land, you need to give it some time to rejuvenate and move to another side. That's how we have shifting cultivation. We began to see that you don't keep cultivating the same place. You do crop rotation, then afterwards you leave that land fallow and let it rejuvenate, replenish, and then you bring it up again. Look at national disobedience. The nation, it says, the nation that forgets God will perish. It says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. So any nation that decides that they do not want to honor God in their national consciousness, then they run into trouble. How about a divided house? Jesus also said, if a house is divided against itself, it shall not stand. These are spiritual laws. And God doesn't hate you, but if you decide to walk not in consonance with your family, if you walk in disagreement with your spouse, with your family, then you cannot support each other. These days, I see children doing stupid things in the name of social media, in the name of asserting their rights, and they are recording conversation with their parents, and they're posting it on social media. People, young people, recording conversation with their parents, going to the Facebook, going to YouTube, going to social media to address family issues. How far are you going to go that way? You are violating the laws of nature. If a house is divided against itself, it will not stand. And you can't go far. And so many other things like that. The Bible talks about a broken heart and a broken heart and a grieving heart is detrimental to your health. But you say laughter brings joy. And so when you violating basic things, you always run into trouble. You will always run into trouble. And that's how it is also in spiritual law. When he says, do good and lend to others, and great will be your reward. If you give, then you receive. Good measure pressed down, the same thing. He says, whoever gives sparingly will reap sparingly. And if you give bountifully, you reap bountifully. So these are laws. You know, I know people who are just collection point. They're like the Dead Sea. They just keep receiving and receiving. They keep collecting from people. They don't think they have anything to offer other people. Every time you see them, what do you have for me? Anything for the boys? Anything, okay, we are here for you. We are serving you. And that is what has brought a lot of even our civil service to disrepute. The people that are paid to do certain things, they earn their salaries, they just keep begging. You get to the airport, they disgrace the uniform they wear. Okay, sir, oh, you are welcome back, we are serving you here. Just shut up, you are paying your salary. And they just keep doing that. And the policeman on the way is stopping you. And then the Bible already says things like, a fire shall devour the house of bribery. I've known custom people who have made so much money, another thing, and they left custom. They never lasted, they died. They've collected bribes, they've done all kinds of criminality, and many policemen, I know a particular one who was chief among bribe collectors. And he was doing that effectively until he retired, and the house he built, termite invaded it, ate it up, and they tried to rebuild termite. He had to abandon the house. You see, because you are violating the laws of nature. The Bible says, whoever is greedy of gain will not live to enjoy it. It says it takes away the life of the owner thereof. So you need to understand that these laws are spiritual laws, and if you do not practice them, you don't honor them, you don't respect them, then it's not going to work for you. It's going to work against you. Because the converse of a law is a law. God made a law of gravity to work for you. But the converse of it is, if you don't respect it, it's going to work against you. And if you don't practice that law, then you're going to suffer for it. Look at the law of asking, for instance. Simply, nobody is going to part with what they have, except there is equal amount of value to what they are ceding to you. Whether it's trade by barter, I'm giving you a cup of water. If it is worth a tuber of yam, then you give me a tuber of yam. But you are not going to part with your yam if you think that what I'm offering you does not equal or does not rise in value to what I'm giving to you. So these are things that we need to learn. Now let us see the characteristic of a law. Whenever you see these laws, how do you know you see a law? Or how do you recognize them? What are the things we need to look at when it comes to this law? Number one characteristic of a law is that they are permanent. We share that quite often, quite a bit in this series, that laws are permanent. They are eternal truths that remain from generation to generation. All men will always refer to them and observe them. But those who refuse to respect them will live with the consequences of violating them. They have ruled our planet from age to age, from continent to continent, and from people group to another. They also remain as long as this earth remains, even long after we are gone. Our wisdom is in learning them and working with them respectfully in order to get their maximum benefit. For us to get the maximum benefit of them, we need to work with these laws. We need to respect them because they are permanent. So the question is this: when you say something is a law, they are not things that happened in the days of your father, they don't happen now. You see, I was talking to some young people and I said to them, who told you that respecting the elderly is obsolete. Who told you that that is in the past? The Bible says you shall bow down before a hoary head. Who told you that? It says gray hair, it's a glory to another man, you shall be honored, if you be found on the way of righteousness. The scripture says, okay. It said the youth is known by his strength, and old men are known by gray hair and their wisdom. And when you put all this together, and the Bible says, in fact, a lot of people don't understand it. Whenever you read the Bible, for those of you who are listening to me and you are Christians, whenever you read the Bible, you're going to find out that certain things didn't make it through the cross. Some things stopped when Jesus died. For instance, when Jesus was still here, he told the lepers that he healed, go and offer the things Moses told you to the priest, and go to the temple and be cleansed. And they did that. But after Jesus died, he did not tell anybody to go back, because those things didn't make it through the cross. He became our sacrifice. He became our offering. But then look at something that made it through the cross. Giving made it through the cross. Honor made it through the cross. Because when he says in Exodus chapter 20, honor your father and your mother, so that your day may be long in the land which the Lord your God has promised you. When you get to Ephesians, he says, you should honor your father and your mother, because this is the first commandment that had a promise attached to it. So it made it through the cross that coming to know Christ, being a child of God, being a Christian, being whatever religion you are, does not invalidate the law of honor to your parents and honor to the elderly. Unfortunately, we are having issues with the younger generation who don't think they need to respect those who have gone ahead of them. But you need to begin to learn those principles. They are permanent, because your kids will come. And if you fail to honor your parents, your kids will dishonor you. If you fail to support your parents, to serve them and give them the honor they deserve, your kids will disrespect you. And they will not serve you. And they will not support you, because you are sowing a wrong seed. You know, I've had stories of young people who cursed their parents, and I knew a particular woman who said he had confrontation with the mother-in-law or somebody. And when she was young in marriage, and slapped the mother-in-law. And the mother-in-law said, you did that to me, your son's wife, and she has not had a child then, say your son's wife will also do that to you. Many years later, she had only one son. And I'm not saying story, it's a story that, the persons involved had put in public domain. That's why I'm confident to share this. And then there was an argument, and somehow it became so intense. Somehow the wife of this man slapped the mother-in-law. And the man said, I'm going to divorce you. We beat the wife, I'm going to divorce her. And the mother invited him, said, son, come inside. I need to tell you a story. He said, I had not had you when I did what this lady did. This is what happened, this is what happened. And I just lost my temper and I slapped your grandmother. And this is what she said. Now I've been paid back. It will stop on me. And she called the daughter-in-law and said, come, Mama so-and-so, I bless you in the name of the Lord. It will no longer repeat. The end of this thing that happened has come. It will stop on me. Your children will honor you. Your daughter-in-law, your sons-in-law, they will honor you. They will serve you. They will bless you. And she prayed and prayed and prayed. And the woman who did that was crying and weeping. And this old woman was praying and praying. She reversed that thing that day. So you need to know that principles are permanent. And you be very careful how you relate to them. In fact, you can't even fast and pray. You can't confess them out of order. If you are sowing bad seeds, young people, you need to change. If you're sowing bad seed, whoever you are, you're going to reap it someday. Number two, principles are universal. Anywhere you see principles, they are universal. They work anywhere, and they work for everyone. They have no respect for age, for race, for nationality, or position. The great and the low and the mighty are all caught by it. The not so mighty, the rich and the poor, the religious and infidel are all subject to the laws of life. They're universal. They work for you or they work against you. They work everywhere, they work for everyone. For instance, the law of gravity works in every continent on the face of the earth. Every nation on the face of the earth. They work. We see them working every day. The laws of gravity, you see plane dropping, you see, recently, I think I saw a video a couple of days ago, where one airline decided that they were wiser than those who constructed this plane. The plane was meant to carry certain capacity. And now, they had loaded the plane that it actually, right on the tarmac, it collapsed. The tire, whatever it is, it just collapsed, just caved in. Because they overloaded that. There's a reason they will tell you can't go more than 20 kg or international flight 23 kg too, for this, for that. And then because each plane had been designated to carry certain amount of passenger and certain tons of luggage. And once it goes beyond that, then you are looking for trouble. And so you need to understand that this law, the law of gravity, doesn't respect anybody. It works everywhere, all over the world. They are universal. The law of flotation, the law of exchange, the law of commerce, the law of aerodynamics, every law you can known to man, even this law of electricity, every law known to man is applicable to every race, to every people on the face of the earth. So don't think that you can circumvent these laws. Don't think you can ever circumvent God's laws that rule over this planet. If you try to circumvent, you are invariably looking for trouble. That is why many of us are where we are. Instead of practicing the laws, instead of just following simple principles, simple laws, they just go into fasting and prayer. They go into church. They go for somebody to pray for them. And they would rather spend all their days in church, day and night, and they will be violating all the laws that God had laid down to govern them. It says, he that does not work should not eat. Then you have no job. And then you continue to fast and pray that God give me have you gone out to look for a job? Oh, I just pray that God will bring the job. How is he going to bring it? You're not looking for a job. How about people who are just praying, oh God, let me just wake up a multi-millionaire, and they are not offering any services to anybody. Nobody is going to give you millions without you offering goods and services. People reward you to the degree they think that you have added value to their lives. And number 3, they protect the products they govern. That is one of the reasons for these laws in the first place. They are meant to protect a particular interest. The law of gravity is to protect everything that has some weight to avoid damage to it. The law of exchange is to protect everyone who offers goods and services. And that is why it is foolhardy to hide behind grace, faith, and even prayer, and do stupid things hoping that they will deliver consequences to you. Because the planet was founded on the Word of God, which spells out the laws of our operation therein. You cannot go and hide behind religion. That is what makes me sick. In fact, it's the reason for this radio program, is the reason for this series that I'm doing, that I want to deliver you from being churchy, being religious about things of life, instead of putting the principles in place. God has set things in order. You go and somebody said to me, he said, look, I don't know why I didn't have money. I said, what have you done with the salary? And he said, well, I gave seed, I helped people, I did that. I said, is that all you did? I said, do you have any savings? No, you didn't save. I said, did you make any investment? No. Where's the money? He said, well, I spent all the money. I said, if you earn all your salaries and then you spend them all on people and things, you did not have savings in case of emergency, and you do not invest in anything, how do you expect to prosper that way? Simple rules. Today, people are working, they have no savings. They don't even think of paying themselves out of their own salary to keep something aside for themselves. So that if they have emergency, a man who has earned salary for 10 years, if he has an emergency of 100,000, he cannot solve it because he spends everything. Well, the money is not enough, because the way we do our savings is we save, we spend and save what is what is remaining, instead of save and spend what is left. You see, we always reverse things and we hope to get results. You save and spend what is left, not that you spend and save what is left. And a lot of people don't have that. But I pray for you that this period will begin to change your mind. This series will begin to change your mind. I want to, there's so much things to go, so much to, but in our next episode, we're going to continue from where we stopped today. And God bless you, and see you next time.